podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Thursday, 2 days before Liverpool travel to the Etihad to take on Manchester City in a second v first battle at the top of the Premier League. The Reds go into this game in pretty good shape. We've had news this morning from Paul Joyce that the South American contingent are all back training, ready to go. Curtis Jones is in training, Ibu is in training, and Ryan Gravenberch is in training. So, looks like Thiago and Bajcetic are probably the only two, and Andy Robertson, obviously, who's got the shoulder issue. But aside from that, it looks like we will be pretty much full strength, which is a really positive thing going into such a big game. You know, obviously, our record at the Etihad under Klopp has not been good. We've only won there twice. And from the very first game that he took Liverpool to the Etihad, you thought we were going to have some air of dominance over them. We went there not long after Klopp took over. We tore them apart. We beat them 4-1. We looked dominant on the day. Bobby, Phil, Emre all played out of their skins. Adam Lallana, I remember, was very, very good in that particular game. And you hoped that that was going to be the start of us starting to smack them around a little bit. But unfortunately, Pep Guardiola arrived and they did get better, which, you know, was always going to happen with the money that they have. We obviously played them again in that 15-16 season. And in the back half of that season, we had focused heavily on getting ourselves to the Europa League final and aiming to win said Europa League final. So the league became less important. We started to rest players in the league. But City arrived at Anfield on the 3rd of March, and we hammered them again. We beat them 3-0. Lallana, Milner and Bobby. I should point out that in the game where we beat them at the Etihad that season, Mangala scored an own goal, Coutinho scored, Firmino scored, and Martin Skrtel scored a late one. We were 3-0 up before Aguero managed to score for them, and we got our 3-goal lead back with the late Martin Skrtel goal. Into 16-17, obviously, Pep had taken over, and this was the start of the real rivalry between Liverpool under Klopp and City under Pep. Prior to that, they'd never been rivals because they hadn't been good enough to be rivals. Now, in this season, Chelsea win the league, Spurs finish second, City are third, we finish fourth. Only 2 points between the sides on the day. We managed to beat them 1-0 at home in the first game of that season. A 1-0 win with a Gini Wijnaldum goal after 8 minutes. In the second game that season at the Etihad, James Milner put us 1-0 up on 51 with a penalty. Sergio Aguero equalised 18 minutes later, and City had themselves a draw. 3 wins and a draw for Klopp against City at this stage in the league, not looking at any other competitions, just the league, because that's what's relevant this weekend. into 17-18, and this is where they open a bit of a gap on us. They win the league that season, and they spent a fortune to do it, but they won the league that year. Again, we finished fourth. We had spent a decent amount of money, brought in the likes of Salah, the likes of Ox, the likes of Andy Robertson. Virgil would arrive in the January. Prior to Virgil's arrival, we'd gone to the Etihad early in the season. We went 1-0 down through a Sergio Aguero goal. And then on 37 minutes, Sadio Mane was sent off for a high foot on Ederson. And they just destroyed us from there. 2 for Gabriel Jesus, just one before halftime, one after halftime, and then 2 late goals for Leroy Sané, a 5-0 win. We would play them at Anfield on the 14th of January, and we destroyed them for 85 minutes. Ox put us 1-0 up. Leroy Sané equalised on 40 minutes just prior to half-time, just from a bit of sloppy defending. Joe Gomez just lost the flight of the ball. Sané got behind him and finished really well. But we came out in the second half. Bobby scored on 59, Mane scored on 61, and Salah scored on 68. And the midfield of Ox, Emre, and Ginny just completely overpowered them. And we were absolutely sensational. Jurgen made changes late on, brought on Milner, brought on Lovren, and Lovren, did Lovren start? Lovren might have started, but either way, Lovren almost single-handedly cost us the game. At fault for Bernardo Silva's goal, at fault for Gundogan's goal, and then at fault for the great Sergio Aguero chance with one of the last kicks of the ball that almost gifted them a point after we had been sensational for the first 85. 18-19 is when we really started to match them again in the league. Now, at this stage, obviously, it's 4 wins, a draw, and a defeat for Jurgen in his 6 league games against City. 18-19, we pushed them so close. We end up finishing with 97 points, 1 point them. We lost the league that year because we drew too many games. Simple fact of it. One of those draws was at home to Manchester City in the league on the 7th of October. Riyad Mahrez missed a late penalty, you'll remember. Blazed it over the crossbar. And we get ourselves a draw. We went to the Etihad on the 3rd of January and we lost 2-1. Aguero put them 1-0 up in the first half. Bobby equalised. Leroy Sané got the winner. We were the better team in the second half. Once Fabinho had come on, we couldn't find an equaliser. And we lose that game. It's the only game we lost in the Premier League that season. It's the only game we lost in the Premier League that season, which is just a remarkable thing. An absolutely remarkable thing. To lose only 1 game and not win the league, considering the team who won the league lost 4 times. But they won twice more than us. We drew 5 times more than them. And that's what cost us. And that season annoys the life out of me. Because those draws against Leicester and West Ham should have been wins. We should have beaten Manchester United. We should have beaten Everton. But it wasn't to be. City win the league and we get to 4-2-2 in terms of Jurgen's record against Man City in the league. 1920, obviously we blow away the entire league for the first 27 games, winning 26 of them. And one of those wins was against Manchester City on the 10th of November. Fabinho scores on 6, Salah scores on 13, Mane scores on 51, Bernardo Silva gets one back, but we are comfortable winners. That's Jurgen's 5th win from 9 games. In the 10th game, we have won the league title the day before. We go to the Etihad. Our players are, maybe 2 days before, our players are very much drunk. And we get stuffed 4-0. De Bruyne, Sterling, Foden, and an Oxlade-Chamberlain own goal, giving City the win. But we won the league that year, and we won it comfortably, 18 points clear of them. 2021, horrendous season in many ways with the injuries that we had. They came to Anfield and spanked the bejesus out of them. But before that, we had gone to the Etihad with Fabinho playing centre-back. We'd gone ahead through Salah, and Gabriel Jesus had equalised. But we'd ended up with a 1-1 draw. That was actually a good result, all things considered. And we were the best team in the league through the first 16 or so games. We were also the best team in the league for the last 10 games. The 12 in between killed us. But we finished third. They won the league. That 4-1 defeat at Anfield to them was just horrendous. 2 for Gundogan, 1 for Sterling, 1 for Foden. Salah got our only goal. When we were 2-0 down, Salah scored and looked like... Actually, no, I'm wrong. We were 1-0 down, Salah scored, and then they scored 3 in pretty quick succession as our defence crumbled with Jordan Henderson at centre-back, which will tell you where we were in terms of injuries. So, yeah. Yeah, not ideal. Moving into 21-22. Again, this is a season where we pushed them really close. And again, this is a season where we just drew too many games. And you look at some of the games we drew. Brentford, Brighton, Tottenham. They're games we should have won that year. We drew both games at City that year too. On the 3rd of October at Anfield, Stadio put us 1-0 up. Phil Foden equalised. Salah put us 2-1 up. De Bruyne equalised. Game ends in a draw. We went to the Etihad in April. De Bruyne put them 1-0 up. Jota equalised. Jesus put them 2-1 up, and Mane equalised, and that one ended in a draw as well. And they beat us to the title by a point, which was quite painful. 22-23, we were garbage. utter garbage for pretty much the entire season. Never really got ourselves out of first gear. But what we did do is we beat them in October of last year. We beat them 1-0 at Anfield through a Mo Salah goal. That's when Klopp played that deep block 4 with 4 in midfield and 2 up front. It really was the perfect tactical setup for that game. Now, we went to the Etihad in the April, and we got absolutely walloped. Alvarez, De Bruyne, Gundogan, and Jack Grealish with the goals. And you know it's bad time when you're conceding a goal to Jack Grealish. So that's it. That's where we are. We have, under Jurgen, had a slightly better record than they have under us, but since Pep took over, they do have the slightly better record. We've only beaten them twice there since Jurgen took over.
The first 2 letters of Webster Bank, we, as in us and you, working together. That's the we we're all about. The we that means you can think bigger and do more with our financial solutions tailored to your goals and expert guidance at every step. So take your next step with total confidence because you've got the power of we on your side. And together, we can do anything. Webster Bank. It starts with we. WebsterBank.com. Webster Bank N.A. member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
One of them was the first time he faced them, and the other time was a Champions League game. So we haven't won in the league there since 15-16. We've played them a lot when you factor in cups and Champions League. Overall, we've definitely had the better of them under Jurgen. But, you know, when you look at league titles, they've got 5 and we've got 1. We should have 3. They should really have 0, for being honest. For all being really honest, they should have 0 league titles because they've cheated their way to everything. But the fact is they have 5 and we have 1. Now, it may end up in a year or two where we have 1 and they have none. Though, unfortunately, all bar the 17-18 title are exempt from the current investigation. The current investigation could take their first 3 league titles off them, the one under Mancini, the one under Pellegrini, and the first one under Pep. It will take another investigation, which I would imagine will be forthcoming, regards to the other 4 under Guardiola, because they're only the 115 charges only relate up to 2018, not because that's when the cheating stopped, but because that's when the investigation started, so they could only do everything that had happened before that. Either way, their reckoning is coming, and I'm in favour of stripping their titles, not redistributing them, because I think that cheapens them. Just strip the titles from them. Make it clear that nobody won the league that year because of cheating. You do the same with Chelsea. And then you expel them. You don't relegate them. You expel them from the Premier League. And you expel them in a way where the Football League has to take them in, but the Football League make them start at the bottom in the Conference League, or even below that, maybe in the Northern Premier, and they have to work their way back up, because that kills them. If you just relegate them, which I think might be what happens, is they just relegate them and they go into the Championship. What that does is nothing. It just allows them to reset themselves, go down. They'll keep a bunch of their players. They'll loan out the ones that aren't willing to stay and play in the Championship. They'll come back up. They'll bring all those players back in, and they'll just be the exact same thing as they were beforehand. If you're going to keep them in the Premier League, you strip their titles and you impose really, really harsh boundaries on what they can do and really strong oversight on how they do it. This is Anfield have a piece about Liverpool taking on Manchester United at 11:15, which used to be a thing, and people complain a lot about the 12:30 kickoff. And the fact that we play so much in that slot is very, very annoying. But this is the 13th time to everybody else's 5th, or sorry, it's Tottenham's 5th and everybody else's less, which does point at, maybe a little bit of 2 fingers up to Jurgen and the club. But it should be remembered, we used to have much earlier kickoffs. The famous 3-1 win over United, where John Anarisa scored that goal, that was an 11:30 kickoff. We've had 11:15. There's a whole bunch of them that they've chronicled here. David Lynch has put this piece together, so do make sure you check that one out. There is a piece about how maybe Chelsea showed somewhat of a blueprint that Liverpool could follow. I think Chelsea, Wolves and Arsenal all kind of showed the same blueprint, and Sheffield United as well. They're the 4 teams that have given City trouble this year. And what they did was they attacked them. They attacked them. City don't like when teams go at them. You go at City, you can get at them. They're not impenetrable. Defensively, they can be quite ragged. If you force Diaz to make decisions, he'll generally just lie on the floor. Gvardiol has struggled since coming in. Walker's not the player he once was. He's got the pace, but he doesn't have anything between his ears. Akanji is wildly overrated. Rodri, if you get movement around him, can struggle. Great and all as he is. There is definitely a blueprint to beating this team, and I think it's one that we can take advantage of. On AnfieldIndex.com, the website is looking new and shiny. If you haven't seen it, do check it out. There is a piece about the City game based off of Harry's rival recon. There's a piece about Harvey, a piece about Costas, a piece about Jeremy Frimpong, and how he could potentially be a target for us if Trent were to move into midfield full time. As a piece about me rambling about Chris Kavanagh, we have a clatter of podcasts for you once again. There is a Scouted ahead of City. There is a Rival Recon ahead of City. There is a Scouts of Tommies entitled Pink Lions with Jay and Jim. And there is Molby on the Spot, Trev Downey and the one and only Jan Molby having themselves a good old chinwag. As always, make sure you listen. There's also the Minefield that came out this week. There's the Under Pressure that came out this week. There's another Scouted from earlier in the week. There's loads and loads of good stuff. Dave Davis will have his press conference pod coming tomorrow, and there's a few other bits and bobs on the way. Tonight, we are recording the Transfer Committee podcast, so that's always a good old time. It'll be Gags Tandon in the driving seat with myself, Dan Kennett, and Mr. Mo Chatra as the panel, the committee as such. And that's that. That's all I have for today, folks. So I will see you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. I hope it's nicer where you are than it is where I am, where the rain is just coming down in sheets, which is nice. But, you know, it is what it is. I will speak to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.